know who she thinks she is, but I do think it might be someone with real power, and it shouldn't be. She wanted her own Hail to the Chief song, and it happened. It's called Fanfare for the First Lady. It's a terrible song. Listen to a little bit of this. The point is her ego. Her ego is out of control.
What happens when the queen of political spin finally slips and loses control? Picture Hillary Clinton in full meltdown mode, rage boiling as Megyn Kelly drags skeletons straight out of her overflowing closet. This isn't just politics anymore. It's a high-speed train wreck with popcorn served on the side. Secrets flying, tempers flaring, and egos smashing together in the most scandalous way imaginable. Think scandals were yesterday's news? Wrong. This is the sequel no one saw coming. Stay tuned, because Hillary's fury just turned into must-see television.
Has a very weird and I think shitty marriage. I don't think she has a husband who is in love with her or faithful to her. And I think I can't really blame him because she seems to have accepted this behavior since the inception of their marriage. And so past this prologue, you're going to get what you tolerate. You know, what you permit, you promote. She spent all of her daughter's upbringing away, at work, at the law firm, in the White House, running for office. And Chelsea Clinton is not a nice person.
Before we dive further, smash that like button and subscribe. Because trust me, you don't want to miss this chaos. Hillary Clinton has always presented herself like the political version of a fortress. Stone walls, iron gates, windows polished to perfection, and a moat overflowing with excuses. For decades, she strutted through scandals as if she had diplomatic immunity from reality. Emails? Just a tiny technical hiccup? Strange connections? Simply misunderstood networking.
Happening in America. You can feel it. Something we've worked for and dreamed of for a long time. Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial, and when he woke up, he made his own kind of history, the first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions.
Her entire public image was wrapped in layers of bulletproof spin, like she believed the world would eventually grow tired of asking hard questions. Spoiler alert, it never did. Enter Megyn Kelly, the media's version of a laser pointer, aimed straight at Hillary's darkest corners. Kelly doesn't toss softballs, she hurls truth grenades. And on this day, she showed up with a full arsenal ready to fire.
Classified appendix to Durham's report from May of 2023, let's see, reveals strong evidence that the FBI covered up a plot by the Hillary Clinton campaign to amplify ties between Trump and Russia. That the FBI covered up the plot. This is the new piece of it that's being dropped today, because we knew Hillary did it. And Fox Digital had reported earlier this week that we were going to see this annex, and it was going to suggest the FBI knew that she was going to do it and then covered it up. And that's where we're going now with this, that Kash Patel said he found the Durham appendix and thousands of other documents inside a burn bag in a secret room at FBI headquarters.
Hillary launched into her usual act, smiles that looked rehearsed in the mirror and talking points polished smoother than marble. But Megyn Kelly didn't show up to play. She came armed with receipts. The clash turned into pure television gold. You could almost hear Hillary's political armor screech as the very first cracks split wide open.
Different ballgame today than it was even 4 years ago, never mind 8 or 10 years ago when she was doing all this. And back to Hillary, you know, the whole, she has a hat she's tweeted herself out wearing, but her emails. She's tried to turn it into this ridiculous joke, like, oh, but the moon landing, like you nutcases who are still railing about this made up scandal, this thing that, you know, you've used to try to unfairly tar me. She did need to distract from that email scandal.
Kelly didn't just peel away a layer of spin, she ripped it off like duct tape tearing its skin. What spilled out was ugly. Dirty secrets tumbled into the open, and Hillary's composure collapsed faster than a house of cards in a storm. It was like watching a carefully built Jenga tower toppled by the world's most relentless toddler.
Should be in jail Literally, Hillary Clinton should be behind bars. And so should the people who worked for her who did this. This is so blatantly corrupt. She wanted to distract from her email scandal. She cooked up a plan to accuse Trump of being a Russian agent in order to distract from her own legitimate scandal. She made up a scandal about Trump being a Russian asset.
At first, Hillary tried her usual tricks: deflect, dismiss, and dance around the point like a lawyer in a courtroom drama. But Megyn Kelly wasn't playing friendly host. She was judge, jury, and demolition crew all at once. Each fact hit like a hammer, and then came the explosion. Hillary didn't just lose her cool, she detonated. The woman who once bragged about being battle-tested went nuclear under the studio lights. Her voice tightened, her face burned crimson, and suddenly she looked less like a seasoned stateswoman and more like a short-circuiting robot breaking down in real time. If you squinted, you could almost see sparks flying from her ears. The meltdown was spectacular, like a pressure cooker left too long on high heat, steam blasting in every direction until the lid finally bursts, leaving nothing but chaos. Kelly dragged out the murky business deals that have always haunted Hillary's career. Storm clouds that never drift away. Questionable alliances resurfaced, making people wonder if her schedule was crafted by an ethics committee or an underground poker club. These details left everyday viewers shaking their heads and asking, how did she get away with this for so long?
Speaking of Hillary, her op-ed, which is really pretty spectacular in the New York Times. First of all, my team just showed me this. Have you seen the cover for her new book? It's something lost, something gained. Gained is with a Freudian slip. And I like the amount of retouching on this face I haven't seen since, Joan Rivers had her 15th surgery. God love Joan. I don't know what she's trying to be with this soft focus. My executive producer, Steve Krakauer, is like, she looks nothing like herself.
Kelly laid it all out like a prosecutor building her case, and Hillary had no escape hatch this time. Suddenly, all those carefully rehearsed sound bites sounded stale. Every pivot felt forced, like a comedian bombing on stage and scrambling for a new punchline. The angrier Hillary grew, the funnier it became. Most people, when called out, either defend themselves calmly or retreat to regroup. But Hillary? She went full supernova. Her strategy wasn't to defuse the bomb, it was to burn down the entire building with her inside. She hurled accusations, flimsy excuses, and weak jabs that landed with no force. The more she flailed, the more Megyn Kelly tightened the screws, calmly delivering blow after blow while Hillary's meltdown spiraled into cartoon territory. The highlight? The public reaction. Viewers weren't just entertained, they were hooked like it was the season finale of a show they never knew they'd been watching. Social media lit up instantly. Memes and GIFs of Hillary's collapse spread like wildfire. One moment, she was the unshakable political machine. Next moment, she was trending for all the wrong reasons.
I think really is just sort of getting along based on the family name at this point. And so now she's got a daughter who I guess married a rich guy but is struggling in her own right. Hillary's in a loveless marriage. She probably doesn't have a lot of real friends, just people who are glommers. And so she absolutely does have to write a fifth memoir and go on MSNBC and be told that she's amazing and that she matters.
Here's the bitter irony. Hillary spent her entire career trying to control the narrative, yet the harder she tried here, the faster it slipped away. It was like trying to hold water in a clenched fist. The tighter the grip, the less she had. By the end, Megyn Kelly stood tall, practically glowing in victory, while Hillary looked like the star of a viral blooper reel gone wrong. And this wasn't just one embarrassing outburst. The secrets spilled that day had legs. They cracked open old wounds she prayed the public had forgotten. It was the journalistic equivalent of turning up a spotlight and watching the main act squirm. Hillary's explosion was decades of spin slamming into the brick wall of reality. When it was over, she wasn't just humiliated, she was politically gutted. What remained was the image of a woman who, despite her polish and experience, couldn't withstand one relentless round of truth-telling. Megyn Kelly didn't just win, she dismantled a myth. And in doing so, she delivered a moment so chaotic, so hilarious, and so revealing, it etched itself instantly into political infamy.
Dream of going up to her and sitting down next to her, taking her in my arms and saying, "Look at me, listen to me. You will survive. You will have a good family of your own and 3 children. And as hard as it might be to imagine, your daughter will grow up and become the President of the United States. I am as sure of this as anything I have ever known. America is the greatest country in the world."
Hillary Clinton didn't just blow up once and retreat. Oh no, she went into a multi-stage eruption, like a volcano that refuses to stop spewing ash until everything around it is buried. What started as a crack in her composure escalated into a full-blown Mount Vesuvius spectacle. And there was Megyn Kelly, cool as ever, standing like a tour guide pointing out every plume of smoke with a smile. The first round of secrets zeroed in on Hillary's infamous backroom dealings, the shadowy arrangements that have followed her since the 90s. Megyn reminded viewers with surgical precision how Clinton's career always seemed wrapped in coincidences that just happened to benefit her circle. She laid out timelines, money trails, and whispers that had been ignored for years, and suddenly, Hillary's golden narrative looked more like a crooked flowchart scribbled by a child. Her reaction? Priceless. She tried that trademark half-smile meant to say, "I'm unbothered," but it looked more like she was holding in a sneeze at a funeral.
Okay, I raised Chelsea Clinton because her mother, Hillary, for some reason, thought it would be moving, a good idea, a good PR move, for her to, on camera, read the acceptance speech she was going to give in 2016, the night she never was able to let down the balloons and the fireworks. And it's part of a masterclass, I guess, educational video on the topic of resilience. And here's a little soundbite of
that. Forced smile didn't read as calm. It screamed, "I'm falling apart inside." Her eyes darted, her shoulders stiffened, and for a moment, you could see it. The realization that her old deflection dance wasn't going to save her this time. Megyn wasn't buying it, and neither was the audience. So Hillary escalated. She raised her voice, wagged her finger, and fell back on the tired playbook of blaming her critics for being obsessed. It was the political equivalent of shouting, "Why are you all still talking about this?" While standing in the middle of a raging fire, she lit herself. Every outburst only exposed her nerves further, while every calm rebuttal from Megyn made the contrast brutal. That was the beauty of this clash. Megyn didn't need theatrics. She pivoted and shined the spotlight on Hillary's long history with power, how she styled herself as a champion of the people, while critics accused her of steamrolling anyone in her way. Stories of aides, insiders, and allies turned enemies flooded back into the conversation. And Hillary couldn't silence them.
Is it over? Is she done? I'm so uncomfortable.
I don't know about you, but that speech makes me, I relive that same night that Trump got elected, man. It makes me feel so good when I hear that.
I'm, the kids say cringe. It's very cringy, the whole thing. And why, of all time, right, like for 4 years and beyond, we were always saying she's like a nice woman. She never expresses emotion. She had like.
It was like Megyn flung open a closet, and instead of one skeleton tumbling out, an entire marching band of skeletons came parading through with drums and horns. Every detail was a reminder that Hillary's career wasn't built on sunshine and smiles. It was elbows thrown in the dark and ladders climbed over people's backs. She hated every second of it. Hillary squirmed, interrupted, rolled her eyes, grasping at any scrap of control, but control had already fled the room. The harder she tried to downplay the accusations, the clearer it became that Megyn had struck a raw nerve. Hillary attempted the old trick of framing Megyn's questions as unfair or part of a vendetta. But here's the problem. When someone calmly lists your greatest controversies like a Spotify playlist, the victim card falls flat. Instead, it made her look like a sore loser in a game she thought she'd already won. Megyn didn't budge. She brushed aside the whining, stayed locked in, and kept tearing down Hillary's carefully crafted image one brick at a time.
The law with that homebrew server that had been accessed by foreign agents. She compromised national intelligence information. She did things she would never have allowed anybody at the State Department to do under her. And that leads me back to Schellenberger here. This is page 4 of his report. He writes as follows: the Russian reports, again, that the Dutch spied on, that we got our hands on, also claimed, and listen to this. I mean, you probably already know this stuff, Glenn, but claimed that Attorney General Loretta Lynch, okay, this is back in 2016, people, remember, Obama's president. Loretta Lynch is his Attorney General. And her DOJ/FBI are investigating the Hillary Clinton email scandal.
The funniest part? Hillary couldn't stop herself from reacting. If she had just stayed calm, let Megyn fire off the laundry list, and responded with icy composure, she might have saved some dignity. But no, she took every bait every time. It was like watching a cat chase laser dots until it finally collapses in exhaustion. The audience loved it. Every outburst became a viral clip. Every awkward face turned into a meme. And every failed spin became material for late-night comedy. People weren't only laughing at the dirty secrets being exposed, they were laughing at the spectacle of a veteran politician unraveling live in prime time. What sealed the humiliation was how Megyn wrapped it all together. She didn't just hit isolated points, she painted an entire pattern of behavior. By the end, Hillary wasn't arguing against single claims. She was drowning under a mountain of narrative that painted her less like a public servant and more like a living cautionary tale. That's when the final explosion came. Hillary's mask slipped, the polish vanished, and what was left was raw, unfiltered anger bursting onto the stage.
Clinton decided to drop an op-ed in the New York Times today that's entitled, "How Much Dumber Will This Get?" And she uses Signalgate and the messaging by Pete Hegseth and Mike Walls and J.D. Vance and Tulsi and others on there as the jumping off point to talk about how dumb the Trump administration is. Some highlights. She calls the Trump administration hypocritical, dangerous, and dumb over this story. "It's not the hypocrisy that bothers me, it's the stupidity."
She leaned forward, snapped back with venom, and unleashed a tirade sharp enough to peel paint off walls. But instead of intimidating Megyn, it only proved the point. Hillary was drowning in her own scandals and allergic to accountability. Even the slightest whiff of truth sent her spiraling. This wasn't power. It wasn't leadership. It was desperation on full display. Megyn Kelly, meanwhile, barely flinched. She let Hillary vent, let her roar, and then calmly delivered one last jab that tied everything together. No yelling, no theatrics, just a mic drop moment that left Hillary looking like a fighter who'd been knocked out in round 1 but was still staggering around insisting she was fine. The fallout was instant. Hillary came in hoping to control the narrative, but instead she gifted her critics live footage of her imploding under pressure. Megyn didn't just expose dirty secrets, she shredded the illusion of control Hillary had clung to for decades. The aftermath wasn't just a bad headline, it was a full-blown political migraine. By the time the dust settled, her team was scrambling to spin the disaster into anything resembling dignity.
Mind, though, like the air toucher, the retoucher deserves a huge raise. This is a much more soft, welcoming, friendly, I suppose, Hillary. Although again, to self-awareness, something lost, huh? I wonder what that was. Really,
right.
You know, the woman who wrote a book called What Happened, like marveling over all the external forces that could have caused her loss in a presidential election that was handed to her on a silver platter. And then you get into this op-ed, which again is just remarkable for what's in there. She has a paragraph in there about all the prep she did.
You can't polish a train wreck, and this footage was everywhere. Hillary unraveling while Megyn Kelly sliced through her defenses like a hot knife through butter. It became a viral storm no PR statement could contain. The public's reaction made it even worse. After years of being sold as an untouchable titan, a political chess master always 5 steps ahead, here she was flailing on live TV like a kid making excuses for a missing homework assignment. Memes painted her as a human volcano. Late-night comedians pounced with glee, and social media turned her meltdown into a non-stop digital roast. The brilliance? Megyn didn't have to scream. She let Hillary do the heavy lifting of her own downfall. The bigger picture was brutal. Hillary's meltdown wasn't just one bad night, it was a reminder of why she's never escaped the baggage of her past. Every scandal, every questionable choice, every rumor rushed back like ghosts, refusing to stay buried. And this time, it wasn't just Megyn exposing her, it was history itself demanding the spotlight.
They banked on the intel agencies working with her to perpetuate this lie, and it appears they were only too happy to assist. That's what this scandal's about. Pieces of it we knew. New pieces are coming in by the day thanks to these declassifications. And it's downright shocking. Do not believe that there's no there there. The people who are saying that are wrong. They're wrong. What just broke today, like moments before it came to air, we're still getting our arms around it, was obviously provided to Michael Schellenberger before 2 minutes ago.
The irony is undeniable. Hillary's entire career was built on controlling the story, yet the harder she tried to steer this one, the faster it spun out of control. Her explosion didn't show strength or resilience. It exposed someone cracking under the crushing weight of her own secrets. By the end, the message was crystal clear. Hillary Clinton didn't just lose her temper. She lost the last shred of her untouchable image. Megyn Kelly didn't just expose dirty secrets. She revealed the truth that behind all the polish and power plays, Hillary was never as bulletproof as she wanted the world to believe. And that revelation? That's the kind of truth bomb that lingers long after the cameras shut off, and one that will haunt her legacy forever.